Today we are going to be taking a look at one of the most overlooked knives in all of the slip joint knife world. I don't know why this knife gets overlooked so much. I've got a feeling it might be because it's such a simple knife, but the simplicity of it is what tends to make it so great. And I've noticed that a lot of the people who actually carry this knife carry it, and carry it until it's absolutely just worn out and sharpened down to nothing, which shows that it's such a great using knife. And there's another knife in the case lineup that tends to outshine it for some reason, but the people who know this knife and the people who love this knife, they'll tell you that it's one of the best knives going. The knife we're going to be looking at is the case 032 pattern. So the 032 pattern case, it's went through some different phases over the years. They used to have what was known as the 32 pattern. It was a little bit longer, and it had half stops. They retooled probably somewhere around 1978 or so. That's a rough estimate. And when they did, they made the knife a little bit smaller, so it would come in at the 3.5 inch size. And when they did that, they also removed the half stops. And those of y'all who are familiar with case knives, you know just how uncommon it is to find a case Stockman with half stops. I mean, that does not happen very often. I'm not sure why, but it's just part of the knife tradition, I reckon. Nevertheless, this became a popular knife. A lot of the older ones were a whole lot beefier, and a lot of them used to have a cutout to get into the secondary pin blade. Now, in our talking about the 032 pattern, it is absolutely necessary to make mention that there are two 032s. There is the jackknife version and there is the Stockman version. The jackknife version is going to be a two-bladed knife with a liner down in the middle, as you can see right there. You're going to have a main clip point blade, and you're also going to have a secondary pin blade. Of course, you're going to have your two back springs with your brass liners. This right here is the jackknife version, and this is known as the Texas Jack. This knife right here is the Stockman version. You're going to have your same clip point blade. You're going to have your same pin blade, though it is on the other side of the knife. What sets these apart is that you're also going to have your sheep's foot blade. That's what makes this knife a Stockman, and what makes this one a jackknife. So you'll notice it does not have the brass liner that runs all the way down through the center. And so these are going to be the two main versions of the 032. In this video, we're going to be focusing on the Stockman version here. The Stockman has been a favorite of many, and that's with good reason because it's such a great knife. And this one falls right into that perfect slip joint EDC size. What I mean by that is it's 3.5 inches when you got your knife closed. Your main blade, the cutting edge, is right at 2 3/8 inches. And on top of that, if you measure the whole blade, it's just over 2.5 inches. So you've got plenty big enough and usable blade for what you need it for. And then for your secondary blades, you've got this wonderful sheep's foot, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this blade here comes in at just a speck over 1 5/8 inches of cutting edge. But your biggest blade, of course, is going to be your clip point. Your little pin blade is going to be roughly the same size as your sheep's foot blade. There's a few things, though, to set this knife apart from other Stockmans. The first thing is the weight. You know, if you know anything about Stockmans, when you see that weight, 2.25 ounces, you know that is a super, almost a crazy light Stockman. Stockmans can get heavy because having the 3 blades and so on. And if you know anything about 3.5 inch Stockmans, 2.25 ounces is nearly unbelievably light. That's the first thing that sets the 032 apart. The second thing is the width. It's a very thin knife. A Stockman, much like a jackknife, is going to have two back springs. And they're roughly the same size, as you can see. But the way that this knife is hefted and the way it's designed makes it a very thin carry. Let me grab an 18 pattern for an example. So this is a case 18 pattern Stockman. roughly the same size as y'all can see. But what we're going to notice is it is a whole lot thicker from side to side. It still has 3 blades, same length, but it's a lot thicker and heavier. I don't know if y'all can see that there, but 18 on the right is considerably thicker. And another thing you'll notice, talking about thinness, is if we look down the profile of these two knives, notice how the 032 narrows in on the ends and the 18 stays steady. What this is doing is lessening weight, but it's also making the knife feel much slimmer in the pocket. Even the size of the middle liner, look how different the size of the middle liner is. I mean, there's a big difference. The 18 is built really beefy, where the 032 is built a little slimmer and a little lighter. We can see this makes a big difference also. If we look inside of the 18, notice all the gap room between the blades. There's lots of space. If we look in this one, there's very little. Look how tight this sheep's foot blade is wedged in here. I mean, it is tight. Where this one right here, there's a whole lot more room. And so, I mean, you can see all the room on this side of the clip blade and alongside the sheep's foot. A lot of difference. And because of that, this makes this knife so much slimmer and so much lighter. Now, slim and light is a reason why a lot of people look for an EDC knife. That's what makes this knife great. It's a light knife for what you're getting. The other thing that makes it so great is you're getting your basic Stockman shape, but it's the selection of the blades. It's common on a Stockman, of course, as we all know, to have a clip point blade. The 18 pattern, which is the most common Stockman from Case, I believe, also has a clip point blade, as you can see. It's a different style clip point, which we may talk about in a minute, but suffice it to say that you can get some 18 patterns with the clip point that the 032 has, but there's very few of them. But the blades are the same size, and the handles are roughly the same size. The 18 is a speck longer, but it's not enough, I don't believe, to ever make any kind of practical difference. The secondary blade I believe to be exactly identical. I do not believe there's any difference. I think Case uses the same blade in both knives. Of course, there's a difference in the steel, but that has nothing to do with the shape of the blade. But the reason why a lot of people are going to prefer the 032 is going to be the choice for this third blade. This is what's known as a spay blade on this 18 pattern, and that is a traditional blade for a Stockman. But the 032 is going to have a pin blade. This is more similar to the kind of blades you're going to find on a Swiss Army knife or something like that. And you can see right there they've got a different shape. The main difference is not the length, because they're about the same length. It's going to be the shape of the tip. You got a much pointier tip. And a lot of people really just love the fit of the blades and the versatility, having a pin blade, a sheep's foot blade, and a clip blade. You can handle any cutting task you need. You've got a blade for each situation. If you need a blade with a longer reach, you've got your clip point blade. If you need to do a draw cut or cut into a box, you've got your tip down at the bottom here at the sheep's foot blade. And if you want a nice sharp tip with a blade that's easily controllable, you can use your little pin blade here. And so the 032 really covers the basis well. And these are some of the things that makes this such a great knife. It's slim, it's light, the blades complement each other. Now, what about handle materials? You're really only going to find it in amber bone. I got no idea why. You can find a few in yellow Delrin, and every now and then you'll find some other models that they'll make for a limited time, like the green apple with stainless steel. But the most popular by leagues and bounds is going to be the amber bone with the carbon steel blades. Now, depending what year you get, it's going to affect which carbon steel blades. This one right here is a 2024. You can see that. Let me show that real quick. You can see that here on this clip here. And so it's 2024, and you're going to notice that we've got CS down under 63032. Now this one right here, if we look down at it, you're going to notice it says CV. And that's because this knife, as we can see here, is a 2016. So 16 and 2024. Case switched sometime around 2022, I believe, switched from carbon steel to chrome vanadium. They're both very similar, very similar carbon steel. You can see they both take a good patina. But the main difference you're going to see between these two styles of steels is that the carbon steel in all my tests holds an edge a lot longer, but it may not be quite as easy to sharpen. It's still easy, don't get me wrong, but it is not as easy, I don't believe, as the CV. And so overall, that's going to be one of the differences. But any of them you buy, if it was made after 22, it's probably going to be carbon steel blade, marked CS instead of CV. Okay, well, that being said, these two are the same knife. The story behind them. Any of y'all who is just curious about the knife pattern itself, y'all can move on if you want to. But if you're interested in stories, you can hang around. So this is the story here. I was wanting to get my grandpa a good carrying knife. He had carried this knife right here for years. This is in the Texas Jack version, like this one right here. But you can see that he's really carried it a lot, got a lot of character, and it's extremely pocket-wearing. You can see the blade's been worn down too. This is like a 1992 or so. And he'd carried this one a long time, and he was needing another one. Anyways, so I wanted to get him one, but I wanted to get him the Stockman version just because the sheep's foot blades are just so helpful, and it's the same size package as the Texas Jack, and on top of that, the Stockman has another blade, and it weighs less than the Texas Jack. I believe. Let me check there. Yeah, it's the Texas Jack here weighs 0.5 ounces heavier, which is basically nothing, but nevertheless, I think the Stockman's generally a better bang for your buck. You get more ability in the same weight and size. So I wanted to get him one of these. So I went down and bought one for him, and a pawn shop that's a case dealer had two of them. So I went ahead and bought them, and, I bought the one for him and gave it to him for Father's Day. And, anyways, he carried it and so on. And every time I'd go back, they had the other one just like it. They'd gotten two of them. They were made on the same day and everything. And so every time I'd look at it, I'd think, well, I might get it. And so eventually I did. I went back and got it because it was the same date as his, and it matched his exactly. And after I bought this one, I initially kept it clean and pristine. But it seems to me like any time I get a case with carbon steel, if I don't let a patina get on it, it'll start to pepper spot. Even if I don't carry it, I try to keep it clean, try to keep it oiled. I guess it's the humidity we got around here. It'll start to pepper spot. And so I looked at it, I said, well, what is the sense in keeping it all nice and stuff? Because my grandpa's looks, he's used it so much, it's all messed up. Functionally it's fine, but the blades and everything, they got little pepper spots all over them, rust spots where he cut hamburgers and stuff with mustard in them and not wiped it off good. And I've had to restore it 2 or 3 times, buffing it out since I got it for him. But he likes it. It's a using knife, and it's getting so much nice character and patina on it. I said, I'm just going to use mine. And so I started using mine, and I've enjoyed it. You can always buff this off if you want to. It's no big deal. But most people, anyways, that'd be buying a knife like this are going to be buying this to use it. This is a using knife, with the amber bone handle and carbon steel blade. So I went ahead and used it. And I'd wanted one of these bad and was happy to find one. Have you all ever noticed sometimes when you find a knife you've really been looking for a long time and wanting bad, you immediately find another for a better deal afterwards? That's the story of this one. I found this one used for, I think I paid like $26 or something for it. Has the box with it and everything. This is a 2016. Few differences. Darker bone. Don't know why. It's got the darkest amber bone I've ever seen. Somebody told me it was a nicotine stain. I don't know. That's kind of interesting theory. I don't know how that would have happened. Nevertheless, that's what that looked like. But the blades were extremely rusty on it, and they looked very bad. But it looked like rust, but it was more or less just a dark patina that hadn't been cleaned well. And so I got a real good buy on it, brought it home, and cleaned it up. And you can see I used this knife, so it's got a nice gray patina like the old CV was known for. But it's got the same blades on it. Now, I like this knife probably a little more than this one. I got no idea why. They're both the same functionally, both the same model. Neither one really has any flaws on it, but for some reason this one sticks out to me more. You all know what I mean when I say that? It's like that sometimes. It's just a knife you like better. I like this one a whole lot. And so those are my two 032s. Okay, let's get to some comparisons. This is the classic 18 pattern Stockman. This is the Texas Jack, which we have already mentioned. This is the 44 pattern, which is a smaller square bolster Stockman. Here's a case, a mini trapper, basically the same size knife. You can see it's just a speck smaller than the Sodbuster Jr. Here's a case, 20 pattern, peanut, much smaller knife. And here's a 47 pattern from Bear & Son. So what do y'all think about the 032 pattern from Case? Comment down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good day. Keep your knives sharp.